Okay, so this is a rerun of a presentation that I did a few days ago at the Portsmouth Vegan Festival. And I hope it goes as well as what the presentation went on the day. So it went a little something like this. Hello Portsmouth, I hope you're all well today. You're doing good? What a great place to be, surrounded by like-minded people, where we're not the odd ones out. Okay, so my presentation today is entitled Veganism, Health and Natural Law. My name is Nathan Redette, and I'd like to thank you all for making the efforts to come here today, and I hope you get something from this presentation. I do have other presentations on YouTube. I have a natural law extended one that totals around 14 hours, and a condensed one that is around 1 hour 40. So you might want to start off with that one to whet your taste buds. I'll be going through this at a fairly quick pace. You may want to take some notes to look into things for yourselves. But before we start, I'd like to give a big thank you to Victoria and Wes for putting this event together, and the other speakers I have the privilege of speaking alongside today. So let's kick off with a quote. Human sickness is so severe that few can bear to look at it, but those who do will become well. So we're going to be looking a little at human sickness in a view of collectively becoming well, as reality is a quantum construct of our collective actions. And for true holistic health, we need to increase the input of both what we put into our bodies, but what we put into our minds as well. There are only two mistakes you can make on the road to truth: not starting and not going all the way. And if you didn't end up a vegan anarchist, you haven't gone all the way yet. And if you aren't a vegan anarchist, you are actually a bad person. And that will all become clear as to why that is the case. Because the religion of carnism is a religion upheld in violence, as is authoritarianism, both based in violence. So we say we want truth and freedom, health and fitness. Actions speak louder than words. What are you prepared to do to achieve freedom? What are you prepared to change? Do you really want true freedom? How much do you value truth? Does it come before everything else? Or would you rather kowtow to a modicum of comfort instead of having the courage to speak truth, with the risk of alienating yourself or offending someone by speaking the truth? I'm not going to be feeding you reassuring lies today. The very fact you're here listening to me is a good start. It shows a willingness to learn, but it's what you do with this information that's important. Remember, to know and not to do is to really not know or care. I know I'm preaching to the converted here today, but be mindful not to discount any information because you do not like what I've said or how I've said it, or if it contradicts any held beliefs, or because it might not make you feel good. These are logical fallacies and emotional mind control, so I hope you can handle the truth. We'll start with this axiom: human slavery is the problem, natural law is the solution. And there are many problems that we suffer: war, disease, pollution, wage slavery, chemtrails, many other entropic forces. Politics, money and religion are also symptoms to our collective ignorance of natural law. Virtually all worldly suffering is due to this ignorance. Even things like whales being washed up full of plastic. If humans were free, we would utilise hemp for plastics. We wouldn't be chopping down the forests, drilling oil either. But a bit more on hemp later. So natural law, like a virus cleanup that removes bugs and malware from your computer so it operates properly. Natural law is like a human brain cleanup from religious dogma, poisoned worldviews, and incorrect beliefs and ideologies. Dealing with the root causal problem, as no positive change can come in the realm of effects through voting, politics, or monetary reform, etc. Have to deal with the causal problem, knowing right from wrong and living accordingly. So natural law holds the key that unlocks all the doors of self-imposed suffering and slavery. And I'd like to point you all to Mark Passio's website, whatonearthishappening.com, and I'd recommend that you work through his presentations and podcast series. Looking at the current human condition, what's the diagnosis? Dia, through or by way of, gnosis, knowledge, through knowledge. Through knowledge we can diagnose and cure the current human condition of slavery and self-imposed suffering. And we must outgrow the cause. There can be no problem overcome unless the cause of it is outgrown. And it is not outgrown by ages of suffering, but by proper intelligent education through knowledge. Okay? So the cause is our ignorance to natural law. The solution would be learning, living, and teaching it. Not through ages of suffering, by voting, which comes from the Latin votum, which means to make a wish or a pledge, usually to a deity. So not through ages of suffering, of doing the same thing over and over again, which is the definition of insanity, like voting for a slave master that you may wish to whip you less than the next. Voting is an illusion of choice anyway, like the Hegelian dialectic. Or having revolutions without addressing the causal factor. You will revolve again and again and go round and round in another psyche-ill. Psyche-ill, the mind is ill. Another cycle, because the causal factor hasn't been addressed. The collective ignorance to natural law. So what is natural law? Look at the word and the definition of them. Words, rather. Natural, inherent in nature, reality and truth, is not made or caused by man. It is, it exists. Law, an existing condition which is binding and cannot be changed. Uppercase L law, not lowercase l law, like man's law, which change through the arbitrary dictates based on location that benefits the people that are writing these laws, with a magic pen and a rubber stamp that automatically makes it legal. BS, it's mind control. Right? True laws like gravity, thermodynamics, and chemical reactions, cause and effect, right? They are immutable. They cannot be changed. In the ancient Cometian or Egyptian tradition, the goddess Ma'at was the goddess of truth, morality, and natural law. Her feather was used at the weighing of the heart ceremony, where Thoth would scribe the outcome. This was in the Hall of Judgment to see if you lived a moral life or not. If you didn't, you would be eaten by Sobek, the crocodile-headed god, and exist in eternal damnation. As many people seem to equate nature to Darwinian theory, natural law is not Darwinian survival of the fittest theory. It's here for us to understand and live alongside, to minimise suffering. These laws improve our lives individually and collectively if we learn to live alongside them. Not in a competitive nature, but more like the trillions of cells working alongside each other that accomplish the miracle that is you. Some call it natural law, universal, spiritual, or karmic law. It's basically do whatever you want as long as no harm is being done to another living being. Right? Period. And it all boils down to theft. Don't steal. Don't take what doesn't belong to you. And yes, people can own things. This is my laptop. I used fake fiat paper slave tokens to buy it, and I use it most days. It is mine, it belongs to me. Nobody has the right to take it from me. Our rights to do as we want, as long as it does not cause harm to other living beings. These are freedoms to travel, to speak, to security in our home, so no trespassing, it's a theft of someone's security. Our rights to not be harmed and threatened with violence. Our rights to choose who we procreate with. Stealing that is called rape. Stealing a life is called murder. When someone says no, it is wrong to then force or threaten them with violence, which is coercion. Don't steal the fruits of someone's labour under violence, which is what government do, and call it taxation. Taxation is theft at a threat of violence, and let's call it what it is. If you perceive it to be otherwise, you're lying to yourself. To stop lying to yourself is really the first step on this path. Don't steal truth. Don't lie. A lie is something that is wrong, something that is not right by definition. So don't lie, don't steal, or coerce. Now, unless you're a born psychopath, you know this inherently. That feeling you get in your chest or belly when you're lying, when you're about to do something wrong, when you're about to steal something that is not yours to steal. But this has been replaced with man's law that we've been born into, and most people buy into it. So it is easier to look at things in the apophatic sense. Apotheosis, knowledge obtained by negation. Sometimes it's easier to know what something is by first knowing what it is not. As rights are virtually infinite, it's easier to know what is wrong. So like this 80s game that many of you will be familiar with, you'll find out who a person is by knowing what they do not look like first. So you'll know it is wrong to harm, to lie, to coerce, to steal, which means that everything else is a right. Right versus wrong. Rights are based in truth, they're correct in definition. Where wrongs are incorrect, they are not based in truth. Rights are moral, they're in harmony with natural law. Wrongs are immoral, they're in opposition to natural law. Actions based in rights do not cause harm or loss to other sentient beings. Wrong action results in harm to other sentient beings. Right? This is objective. The objective difference between right and wrong, not morally relative man's law. And it is possible to know the objective difference in this physical realm. Natural law, simplified, it all boils down to this, and it is this simple. Do no harm, take no shit. So do no harm, don't do to others what you wouldn't want done to yourself. That's the apophatic version of the golden rule, do unto others. And the apophatic version makes it much clearer. And the do no harm is called the sacred feminine, or the non-aggression principle, one of the pillars of enlightenment. The other pillar is take no shit, stand up to wrong action. This is the right to use force against violence. This is the sacred masculine, or the self-defense principle. This does go against overly submissive right-brain dominance, which is a big part of the New Age religion. Over-submissive never use force. This is total demasculinization and an excuse to not generate courage and stand up for yourself, others, and what is right. Other New Age nonsense like ignore the negative. There's no such thing as negative information. It's just information. Ignoring information leads to suffering. Like, that bus is going to hit you. Don't touch that, it's hot. If you ignore that, you're going to suffer. So information doesn't bring negativity, it can mitigate suffering if you're wise enough to heed it. So investigate it, and if it's true, heed that information, not ignore it. Another New Age misconception is never get angry. It's utter BS. Righteous indignation. Anger can be the catalyst to take right action, especially if someone is doing harm to you, right? You have the right to stand up for yourself and use force. If you're familiar with the movie Network, the main character Howard Beale, I'm a human being, goddammit, and I'm not going to take this shit anymore. And there are numerous reasons why all of us should feel the same way. Those that don't know this information won't say no to evil and wrong. Those that don't KNOW won't say NO, which is the lost word. And we need to know this and use it. We need to say no to animal slavery and cruelty, as well as human slavery and injustice. Another misconception, evil is necessary. It's not necessary, it's a choice. Someone just started cutting the lawn out there, so sorry if you can hear that. It's not about balance or an excuse to accept evil. It's a choice. We will have the free will choice to partake and accept evil or take wrong action as a weak-willed coward, or we have the choice to generate courage and put it into right action. Develop knowledge, care and courage, mind, heart and guts, thoughts, emotions and actions aligned. A person in unity consciousness, the allegorical Jesus, a sovereign being, which leads nicely into some esoteric occulted information. I'd just like to add at this stage that I bought a zombie t-shirt from this vegan festival. Zombies eat flesh, go vegan, right? And the ruling elite, the elite class, the banking and royal families that manipulate humans, they know this information. And they refer to us as the dead because we haven't activated our consciousness, which is a combination of thoughts, actions and emotions. So we haven't activated our intellect, we're not seeking truth, we don't care, so that's the emotional aspect, and we're not taking right action, we're not doing anything to combat human slavery. So that's why we refer to the dead, the zombies, and zombies eat flesh, right? Anyway, moving on to the occulted information. Intelligence, the two pillars of enlightenment, or the solution. Intelligence has been my favourite word for a little while now, replacing a long-standing favourite, recalcitrant, which means defiant to authority. So authority is an illusion based in violence. Intelligence is a commonly misused word that is used with incorrect connotation. It is collectively used instead of the word intellect or intellectual. I love the word intelligence because it goes so deep. It can explain natural law, which is our collective solution. The word intelligence is made up of the word intel, intellect, knowledge, which is associated with one of the masculine attributes of the self, and the word gens, which comes from the Latin genare, which means to create, creativity, which is associated with the feminine aspect of the self. Genare, to create. You create what you care about. Not only do you need to know intel, but wisdom and right action will not be birthed unless you care, unless you have the gens as well. When you balance the masculine and feminine attributes of the self, it brings the one I on, the I in the middle of the word. Full use of the neocortex is birthed. And that neocortex is which separates us from animals and gives us moral culpability, gives us the ability for things like space travel and philosophy. So true holistic intelligence requires balance. So some of the male attributes would be intellect, analytical and linear thought, and logical thought processes, math, science, action. Is a self-defense principle of the right to use force against violence. So balanced with the feminine attributes of intuition, creativity, empathy, care, and holistic approach, nurture, and the non-aggression principle, do no harm. When balanced, this is known as the alchemical wedding in the mystery traditions, the sacred marriage. This is what all the holy trinities are trying to explain in Christianity, Hinduism, Egyptian, Babylonian, Scandinavian, and many other trinities, trying to tell us this allegorically. Whereas most intellectuals are predominantly left-brained or indoctrinated idiots, they are not truly intelligent. People would say Stephen Hawking is intelligent. They're wrong. He is hyper-intellectual and overly left-brained. So much so he believes there is no such thing as free will. So far into the left brain he comes out the other side exhibiting overly right-brained beliefs, like a religious person would say, ultimately God controls everything, so free will is an illusion and there's no point in doing anything. Stephen Hawking is not intelligent. So this is occulted knowledge, and the image in the middle is the first degree tracing board in Freemasonry, and it represents out of ignorance into enlightenment by balancing the male and female attributes of the self and applying them. The black and white checkerboard floor at the bottom represents ignorance and ego. and not knowing the difference between right and wrong, not knowing natural law, right? Black and white, right and wrong, light and dark. And if you haven't looked into the occult and you understand this, then you're an idiot. You don't know the difference between right and wrong. This checkerboard floor, it's known as the floor of the house, and it's wrapped around the heads of the police. They've got that black and white check, right? This is mockery. Above that black and white check is a 5-pointed star with the crown above it. So they don't know right from wrong, but they're prepared to take action and use violence to uphold the crown above all else. Right? They uphold moral relativism. I could literally talk about this for hours, so best move on. This is some occulted knowledge, right? And this is how it's being used against us. This knowledge has been occulted, and the dark occultists have infiltrated all institutional walks of life on Earth. Through their manipulation of these institutions, they currently hold the overall mindset of the human population in a state of general unconsciousness, thus holding humanity in a state of slavery. And this is the real difference between the top and the bottom of the pyramid. Those that do know and those that do not. And this should be common sense, common knowledge, and conscience, the Latin con and sciere, together to know together, to know together collectively, to know right from wrong, but largely we do not. If we did all live and breathe right action, together there would be order. Instead we have chaos, we have mental malware and entropy. We buy into moral relativism, or man's law at birth, and worship authority. So without belabouring right and wrong, as this is the foundation of natural law, the reason why it is not common sense or common knowledge is mostly through ignorance, as in the age of information it is available. So that's right from wrong, guys. So as far as a plant-based diet is concerned, and I do actually refer to veganism as a plant-based diet now, because when you use the word vegan or veganism through mind control and carnist guilt, the word veganism not only has an ism, but it stirs derogatory connotations, like conspiracy theorist. When you say veganism, you have the connotation of annoying, know-it-all, weird, scrawny, tree-huggy types, right? Veganism isn't an ism. It's not a religion, as it's based in gnosis, not the dogma like the religions are based in. And it's based in both what is right and moral and correct for the consumer, animals, and planet. Right? Okay. So let's look quickly at some natural law principles. As we're limited for time, I won't be going into these in detail. So we've got the principle of mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender. And you all need to read the book The Kybalion. It's a must-read book, short in about 100 pages. It can be a bit heady, not the easiest to read, but the depth of understanding it gives is amazing. Another must-read book is The End of All Evil by Jeremy Locke. It's easy to read, beautifully written, and very cleansing. Also short in just over 90 pages. And they're both available in PDF for free online. And go back hundreds of years, what our ancestors would have done. They'd just be astounded. They'd probably break down into tears, knowing that we've got all this information at our fingertips, and what are we doing with it, playing Candy Crush. This is Mark Passio's 8th principle, the principle of care. This is the lost principle, known as the lost principle, the dynamic of care. So what we care about on a day-to-day basis acts as our driving force in our thoughts, emotions, and actions. Therefore, care can be seen as the ultimate generator of the quality of our experience. This principle has often been referred to as the generative principle. And as I previously said, the word generative is derived from the Latin verb generare, which means to create. If you really cared about the self, you'd be eating an organic plant-based diet. If you really cared about animals, you'd go on a plant-based diet. And if you really cared about the planet, guess what? You'd go on a plant-based diet. So let's look at natural law versus man's law. So natural law, which is objective morality, is based upon principles and truth which are inherent to creation. Whereas man's law, which is morally relative, it's moral relativism, which I'll add in is actually a satanic belief, and they propagate this. They want people to not know the objective difference. They're easily controlled. So moral relativism is based upon, man's law is based upon dogmatic beliefs, which are constructs of mind. Okay. Natural law is harmonized with through knowledge and understanding, whereas man's law is complied with due to fear of punishment. Natural law exists anywhere in the universe. It's universal, these laws. Man's law differs with location based upon the whim of legislators. So we've got borders, counties, countries, states, and they're all separated with these imaginary lines. Ultimately, they're imaginary lines, right? We're all human beings, we all live on this planet. But, you know, divide and conquer works a treat. So these borders, over one side of this imaginary line, something might be illegal, okay? And then the other side, it's all of a sudden legal. And then different laws apply across a different line. You know, like prohibition. Once upon a time, it used to be illegal to drink alcohol, but you know, it wasn't enforceable. They changed the law, and things that they all differ through location based on the whim of the legislator, and they benefit the legislators, more to the point. So this is mind control. You know, something doesn't become all of a sudden moral or right just because you cross an imaginary line. It's either right or wrong, and there's no justifications, and you cannot make up rights and wrongs. Authoritarianism is a religion, and it's based in mind control and upheld in violence. So natural law is eternal and immutable. It exists and applies for as long as the universe exists, and it cannot be changed, whereas man's law changes with time upon the whim of the legislators. Taxation is theft. It's theft at the threat of violence, and let's look at this. Let's look at this nice and simply. We'll take two people, we'll put them on an island, and it's like one of those people going over to the other person with the spear and saying, "Don't give me 20% of your bananas. I'm going to poke you with this stick and put you in that cage." Right? Let's call it what it is. Taxation is theft. Licenses and permits. Back to the island. It doesn't matter if there's there's two people or 20 trillion people. Okay, it's easier to look at if it's just the two. One guy walks over to the other guy. "You need to pay me to walk on the sandy parts. You need a permit to grow those bananas. You need a license to use that fishing rod. If you don't comply with these rules, if you don't pay me, I'm going to poke you with a stick, put you in that cage." Licenses and permits is slavery. Prohibition is a claim of ownership of the individual in their consciousness. Now, if you didn't know, you do actually own your own body. Some people didn't. Some people don't know that, but everybody owns their own body. Okay? Now, if somebody tries to tell you that you're not allowed to put a certain substance or something in your own body, that is a claim of ownership. It's a claim of ownership of the individual. It's a claim of ownership on their consciousness, because certain plants, herbs, and fungi alter your consciousness. And if you're not allowed to explore your own consciousness, then that's a claim of ownership. Okay? And there's a reason why they don't want you to explore your own consciousness. Because there are some plant teachers that are very beneficial and can help you grow and realize these truths and have a deeper understanding of these laws of nature and the metaphysical and physical world and the spiritual plane, which is really in and of the same thing. Neither have any preference. They're both the same, right? This physical realm is the spiritual realm, and taking right action in this realm is important. So following on from prohibition, hemp can save the world. Okay? It's nature's most complete food. You can live on the stuff. It's got all the vitamins, minerals and proteins. It's got the perfect ratio of omega-3, 6 and 9. You can live on hemp seed. So if this was allowed, third world countries could cater for themselves. And it's actually the staple food of the centenarian hotspots of the world. Hemp is nature's answer to fuel, paper, housing, nutrition, textiles, food and oil. It is the world's premier renewable resource. We could literally stop drilling oil, chopping down the trees, polluting and producing so much harmful plastics. Alright? If the 0.03% of CO2, which seems to be such an issue with global warming, whereas I'd say that colossal ball of plasma in the sky generates ridiculous amounts of heat, it goes through cycles, we're led to believe the 0.03% is an issue. Well, if it is such an issue, then stop chopping down the trees and plant hemp and utilise hemp, industrialise hemp. But the big families, the rich old money families at the time, when the decorticating machine was invented, that took the labour intensity out of producing hemp. When that was made, Rockefellers, DuPonts, so you've got the big logging industries, the cotton industries, the plastics and oils. Hemp was a direct threat to those industries. And one of the Rockefellers' family members was appointed head of the drug agency, and that's when the hemp prohibition came in. And this is the biggest crime against humanity, especially when you look into Rick Simpson oil, okay, and the cancer industry. To keep a handful of people rich and powerful and in control, this crime has been committed against humanity. And anything these things can do, hemp can do better. Henry Ford was a big advocate of hemp. His first car was made from hemp, and it was made to run on hemp biofuel. Read a book by Jack Herer, Emperor Wears No Clothes, and in it he's got a quote of, "I don't know if hemp is going to save the world, but it's the only thing that can." And I'd add to it, human slavery must end first for hemp to save the world. You know, we can start utilising technology for our betterment rather than using it to control, enslave and kill our fellow earthlings. We could literally, if you've listened to any Bill Hicks, you know, we can traverse the cosmos if we end human slavery. It appears that humans are in a severe state of Stockholm syndrome and self-loathing. So this cause and effect, this is dealing with a causal factor. You know, no truly positive change can occur in the realm of effects. So nothing truly positive can come from politics, as that's a symptom. Monetary reform, as that's a symptom. We must know right from wrong together and break out of Stockholm syndrome collectively for there to be any true positive change. This is holistic health. You know, we're putting in the information. To know and not to do is to really not know or care. So we've got to act on this information. So to increase health, we need to increase the quality of input. You are what you eat. It's literally true. What you put in your body, the cells, the molecular structure of that becomes you. Your body converts those cells into the cells of your body. And what you put into your mind as well, turn off the TV. TV is really bad for you. Mainstream TV is really bad for you. Television programming, right? Green language. They're telling their dark world vision and they are programming you. Turn it off. So increase the quality of information. To go organic, minimize toxins and maximize nutrients. Consume an eclectic, which means a wide variety of plant-based foods. And for mental health, unplug from the junk sources and read the right books, listen to podcasts and documentaries, the right ones. Increase the quality of input. So a nice variety of colours, not the junk. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. That's Nikola Tesla. And maybe if we end human slavery, we can start to utilise some of his technology for our betterment, like he intended. Down the bottom there, you see some Curlian photography, and that's the difference between an apple and a slab of rotting flesh, also known as meat. When we can kill animals to eat them, they end up killing us because their flesh, which contains cholesterol and saturated fat, was never intended for human beings who are natural herbivores. Is this karma? This is natural law. The World Health Organization have declared that processed meat is in the same carcinogenic category as radiation, asbestos, plutonium, and smoking. It's the #1 cause of death on this planet. And that's herbivorous / frugivarian humans pretending to be omnivores. So the #1 cause of death on this planet is herbivorous frugivarian humans pretending to be omnivores. Just let that sink in for a moment. It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. And we are sick because we've bought a multitude of religions. Religion itself, money is a religion. It's a worldwide belief system, the #1 worldwide belief system, and the reason it works is because everyone believes in it. It's really just paper and digits on a screen. It's got no intrinsic value. And money is actually how I started waking up. So I started looking into money creation, fractional reserve banking, and quantitative easing. Right? Scientism is a religion. Carnism is a religion. These are all beliefs. Then they don't take on truth. Government, authoritarianism is a religion. Religionists say we believe whatever we're told to believe. It's so much easier than developing critical thinking skills and thinking for ourselves. Religion, from the Latin religare, to bind, to thwart from forward progress, to hold back, holding humans back from true evolution and prosperity. Religionists are mental, emotional, and spiritual children. They dogmatically accept the exoteric cover story, talking about religion itself. They're ignorant to astrotheology and blind to the allegories. This is fear-based thinking to absolve real-world action and personal responsibility, as it's all in the hands of God. So essentially all action is futile. The rapture's any minute, don't you know? Religionists are cowards, right? Fake Christians, for example, and other religionists, they do not follow in their footsteps of their saviour. Jesus was a vegan. He stood up to the control system. He flogged the bankers in the temples. He was a speaker of truth that divided family members. No religionists do that. They love the state. They love their slavery. They love absolving their personal responsibility, listening to their preacher man. Religions hold humans back from true evolution and positive change. And tying in the law of correspondence with the religion of carnism, all the whilst there are slaughterhouses, there will be battlefields. I think this is so important to understand, this law of correspondence. And I'd add in suffering and human slavery to that quote as well. All the while there are slaughterhouses, there will be battlefields, human slavery and suffering. Because of the law of correspondence, as above, so below, authoritarianism and carnisms are linked. We cannot expect to be free or free from suffering all the whilst we support the enslavement and suffering of other beings. So order followers should quit their cults. I didn't make my amendment to the slide. That should read, nothing will end war unless the people themselves refuse to go to war. An Einstein quote. Okay. And I know Portsmouth's a big naval town, but the truth doesn't care. The truth is not relative or subjective. It is, and it's knowable. Okay. These police, military members are cult members. They're bad people and they need to quit their cults. So remember the pillars of Freemasonry that we went through, and I've touched on green language, which I know is a bit right-brained and it's a bit hard for some people to take on board. But the pillars in Freemasonry, well, the pole ice, right? Keeping it icy, it's not easy to climb the pillars of enlightenment when the order following house slaves are keeping them icy, right? The police are enforcing moral relativism through violence. The police are polarized, as they are both dominators over others and order followers. So they're in chronic imbalance in both brain hemispheres. These are broken in, sick people. The military, my light awry. Right, your light isn't on. The officers of the military, they're keeping the one eye off. The light, it's not bright. It's not balanced. It's not in unison with natural law. It's not truly intelligent. My light's awry, officers, right? And when you say cult, it probably brings up all sorts of connotations. Let me explain why these are cult members. So these upholders of the immoral control system, based in moral relativism, upheld in violence, are cult members because they are inducted in the same manner as all cults. They go through repetition with their marching and their songs, getting up early every day, etc. Right? They all made to look the same. This is another tactic. So the first one was repetition. Second one is uniformity. All look the same, all wear the same clothes, all have the same haircuts. Next one is isolation. They're kept in their barracks and their social cliques. Next one, they're broken down and built back up into order following, broken in, post-human automatons. Early starts, abuse, rigorous trainings, etc. The them versus us mentality. Squaddies and civvies. Animals. Right? When you break in a horse, what do you say? When you're now the master of that horse, you've broken it in. These people are broken in. They're fed low nutrient dense foods. This is another tactic. High carbs. This starves a higher order brain function. They're not on a nutrient dense diet, an eclectic plant based diet. They're given lots of pastas and potatoes, etc. These are all cult techniques, guys. This is why they're in a cult. This is why we need to encourage them to quit their cults. So those are the house slave stormtroopers, the clones, the cop-ees, trying to cop out from personal responsibility. Order following animals, attack dogs. Attack dog with their dog tags on, right? The soul dyers, the soldiers, the death of the soul. They've sold their soul for a pittance of worldly trinkets. They're enslaving their own kind. We must wake up the sleeping dogs and refuse to be in relationships with these bad people, because good people do not follow moral orders. You know, there are more deaths post-war from post-traumatic stress disorder than deaths in the war. And what does that tell you? War's a racket anyway, guys. This is, private banks have been lending to all sides of every war since Napoleon. Not just that, but war is a dark occult human blood sacrifice. This Help for Heroes NLP, the sick NLP SARP, I've deliberately used it because this is what it should really say. Not making you feel guilty to supporting these murderous house slaves. You know, and it's called a police state for a reason. We're in a police state. It's not called a banker state or a politician state. These are the builders and enforcers of the police state. I mean, we are all builders collectively because we co-create this reality, which is why it's important to take right action and live and breathe natural law and teach it to others, to nurture others, because the controlling class aren't going to be doing it. The school systems, the government indoctrination centres won't be doing it. You know, this police state, these are the house slaves. It's upheld in violence. It's a religion, dogmatic religion, where some people have the right to rule over others. And if you haven't noticed, police states proceed false flag events. And we've very recently just had a false flag event. This event was laughable. Allegedly a fireball engulfed a carriage and hospitalised 22 people. And this lady in the picture, in a pristine bandage and clothing, unsinged, unmarked, no burns, no cuts, no bruises, no dirt at all, and a smouldering bucket with a plastic bag still intact. There's no damage at all to the surrounding area. And instantly, you've got Psycho Grey May saying about putting more troops on the street and limiting internet freedoms. I mean, come on guys, wake up, man. It's just the same as 9/11. So we must not support the dominator culture. Or the dominator, yeah, that's more to the point, dominators. You know, stop supporting the domination of animals, stop supporting the domination of humans. So there's one true divide, those that support slavery and those that oppose it. And there's this distinct difference. That some people believe that human beings should be ruled by a group of people, and we give them the right to steal, kidnap, kill and harass, so we are protected from people who steal, kidnap, kill and harass. Genius. Authority is an illusion. The religion of authoritarianism, which will never result in order because it's based in violence, it's an erroneous and dogmatic belief that some people have the right to dominate and take others' rights. It's not based in truth. It's a symptom of a diseased psyche, a broken mind that's been broken in to accept its masters. Authoritarianism is a religion in the truest sense of the word, from the Latin religare, to tie, to hold back, to bind. It's holding humans back from breaking the chains of slavery and truly evolving. Talk to these people in the forces, approach them. Spouses should say, I don't want to be with an immoral person anymore, and mean it. I used to use this tactic. I used to approach them and say, have you seen the latest Star Wars movie? This is recently after it's released on DVD, The Force Awakens. You know, the stormtrooper that wakes up and stops taking wrong action? Yeah, that's you. You're the stormtrooper. Or using Star Wars, you know, when Darth Vader only backs off when he realises he's murdering his own child. These people need to realise they're enslaving their own kind. And this is the result of following orders. This is the result of following orders. As is this. And it's linked. These religions based in violence are linked through the law of correspondence. Now, a lot of this information is controversial. From the Latin contra, to come face to face, with verse versare, to change. Very similar to the word conversation. Con, together, verse versare, to change. Have true conversations with people, guys. Talk about this stuff. So, carnists think, or most carnists say, I love animals. Because it's normal, it's natural to love sentient beings. There are 4 laws that apply to the religion of carnism. And these are laws, not beliefs. Right? And carnism is a religion based entirely in violence, saying it's somehow necessary and or morally justifiable to consume dead animal flesh or their products. It's a religion in the true sense of the word, again from the Latin religare. It's holding us back from truth, real evolution, freedom and prosperity. This is the land of cognitive dissonance, this image, lying to yourself, enshrined in moral relativism. Understand, a society that embraces moral relativism will never be free. A society that embraces moral relativism will never be free. It will never, ever be free, enshrined in moral relativism. We need to understand that. Really, really important. So 4 natural laws that apply to carnism. The law of freedom. Morality and freedom are directly proportionate in any given society. As morality increases, as does freedom. As morality declines, as does freedom. Society that subscribes to moral relativism will never be free. The law of assimilation. You are what you eat. Dead, rotting, pus-laden, antibiotic-laden, growth hormone-laden, fear-laden meat and dairy. You consume that. You want to assimilate that into your body. It is a demonstrable fact that humans are healthier on an eclectic, organic, plant-based diet, manifesting less disease and increasing vitality. The law of correspondence. As above, so below. We cannot be free whilst we unnecessarily enslave and butcher our fellow earthlings, eating them as the ultimate form of domination. Until we transcend the dominating mindset, we ourselves will be dominated. And the big one, don't steal. It is wrong to cause harm to other living beings. Animals' lives are not our lives to take, so will always be wrong under natural law. I love animals so much, I support this. I love them so much, I want them slaughtered because I like the taste. Tens of billions of sentient beings are slaughtered every year, and this is a ritualistic blood sacrifice as well. This pumps the fear back into the morphogenic field that we all live in. Okay, this keeps our vibrations and frequencies low, and a lot of those slaughterhouses are built on ley lines as well. The UN building is built on an old slaughterhouse. Coincidence? These are some powerful documentaries. In particular, I'd actually recommend the Milton Muse MD there. Are Humans Designed to Eat Meat? It's a fantastic presentation. Mick the Vegan, check out some of his stuff. And all of these documentaries are worth looking at. Okay, Earthlings, very brutal, but it serves its purpose. We should look at what we're supporting. If you're prepared to eat living beings, you should be prepared to see what you're doing to them. And just because you're prepared to kill them or murder them doesn't make it right, okay? So say, these animals' lives are not our lives to take, so you can never justify it. You can never make a wrong a right. Just dispelling the protein myth. These are some plant-based athletes, and I would recommend you look into Michael Clapper's work. David Hay, the boxer's vegan as well, amongst many other athletes. These are some vegan animals. They do not suffer protein and muscle deficiency. Animals get their nutrition from plants. You do not need to eat animals. Protein deficiency is a myth. We are healthier without animal flesh and products. If we want to go and see animals, we should see them like this as well. Not for our own convenience, support the enslavement of them in zoos, where most of the animals clearly show signs of depression, and any master-slave relationship is selfish and wrong. Injured animals should be nurtured back into health and re-released. There's sanctuaries that do that. It's fine. Animals are not these things. They are living beings. And you know why you can't tell the difference. Because there isn't one. We're not carnivores, guys. We're not omnivores. We don't have the claws. We don't have the teeth. Our teeth are not like that. We're very, very close to herbivores, but we're matched almost identically to frugivores. We eat fruit, nuts, and seeds, and vegetables. We have many herbivorous traits. Watch that Milton Muse MD presentation, right? We have the stomach pH that of a herbivore, because the carnivore's pH is much higher, which is why we have to cook. Carnivores don't have to cook the flesh. Their high pH kills all the bacteria, and their intestines are much shorter. Now, if we eat flesh raw, we'll get ill from the bacteria and parasites. Cooking it destroys some of the protein, any protein chain too. Anyway, it's not good for you. It's very intensive on the digestive system. The shorter intestinal tract of carnivores flushes through all of the fats, whereas where we have a herbivorous internal intestinal tract, we absorb all of these trans fats that cause us to have clogged arteries, heart disease, and cancers, etc. We absorb the badness from the meat and it kills us. You think that's a coincidence? You think that's not karma? Remember, humans pretending to be omnivores is the leading cause of human death through cancers and heart disease, etc. I'm going to read a Tesla quote. It is certainly preferable to raise vegetables, and I think therefore that vegetarianism is a commendable departure from the established barbarous habit that we can subsist on plant food and perform our work even to advantage is not a theory, but a well demonstrated fact. Many races living almost exclusively on vegetables are superior in physique and strength. There is no doubt that some plant food, such as oatmeal, is more economical than meat, and superior to it in regard to both mechanical and mental performance. Such food, moreover, taxes our digestive organs decidedly less, and making us more contented and sociable, produces an amount of good difficult to estimate. In view of these facts, and every effort should be made to stop the wanton and cruel slaughter of animals, which must be destructive to our morals, to free ourselves from animal instincts and appetites, which keeps us down. We should begin at the very root, right, from which we spring. We should effect a radical reform in the character of the food. A man can live to be healthy without killing animals for food. Therefore, if he eats meat, he participates in taking animal life merely for the sake of his appetite, and to act so is immoral. So there we go. If you're not a vegan anarchist, you're a bad person. By definition, I've explained it. It's not me, it's not my belief, it's not my ego. I'm just serving truth. So let's look at some natural law expressions just to finish off. So we need to be in the polarity of love, okay, the expansive polarity. And if we're in that polarity, we are conscious. We want to take in information. We are open to truth. Whereas the opposite to love isn't hate, it's fear. We're in a state of unconsciousness. We're afraid of the information. For whatever reason it may be, we don't want to look at it. Whether it's because of fear of personal responsibility, or the fact that you might feel guilty, and you might feel guilty because you want to change, and you don't really want to change because you like these things in your life or your beliefs. So if you're in the polarity of love, you desire truth as opposed to being scared of information and ignoring truth, which leads to the internal confusion. If you're ignoring truth and information, you end up ignorant, right? Whereas if you're accepting information and you want to learn and take on truth, you get into a place of knowledge. And from knowledge, you'll become a sovereign being. Okay? You will rule the self. And there should be only one ruler of the self, and that is you. Kingdom of one. This cannot be obtained in fear and ignorance. If you're not a ruler of self, you will be controlled externally. This positive column and this negative column, you can't cross over. You've got to go all the way down one way. You can't go from fear to order, for example, or fear to freedom. You've got to be in the polarity of love. You need to take on information, act on it, and externally, what happens in society, collectively, if we have a number of sovereign beings that understand right from wrong and have their thoughts, actions, and emotions in alignment. And you know, this is what true enlightenment is, guys. Knowing the difference between right and wrong and living accordingly. It's not being able to levitate in meditation. It's literally just knowing right from wrong and living accordingly. And we should also take up the true great work of helping others to get into this position. Okay, so the negative aspect, if you're ignorant, you end up confused internally, and because you're confused internally, this is internal anarchy. Right? Anarchy just means without rulers, right? It doesn't mean without rules, which most people have been led to believe that anarchy is chaos through the mainstream mind control, drip feeding anarchy is chaos throughout your life. It's not, it just means without rulers. So the rules are natural law, right? If you're in fear and you're ignorant, then that leads to external control, which is what we've got. We've got external control, which is chaos. We are living in chaos. We're in a worldwide prison based in fear and chaos, which is obviously bad. Now we have the potential and the power to change that collectively, but it takes a quantum amount. So we need to take this on board. We've got to do it ourselves. And it can manifest order and good. So whereas the modern mantra of ignorance is bliss actually leads us through fear and ignorance into confusion and external rulership or slavery, the ancient mantra was ignorance is the only real evil. And it's true. So remember, there are only two mistakes you can make on the road to truth: not starting and not going all the way. You've got to go all the way with the truth. To know this and not take action is to really not know or care. If you're not a vegan anarchist, you haven't gone all the way yet. Vegetarians need to go all the way with this and go vegan. Vegans need to go all the way with this and stop supporting human slavery. And anarchists need to go all the way and stop supporting animal slavery. If we do, we can manifest true freedom and prosperity for all beings. Thank you very much for listening today. This presentation actually ran probably about 15 minutes longer than the one at Portsmouth. I then did a a question and answer session. But that's pretty much how it went. Cheers, guys.